What is up, guys? We are live. Welcome to the Bags to Riches podcast. I'm your host, Zach Ginn. And in today's episode, we are joined by Chris Monroe from St. Louis, Missouri. You might know him as Chris Monroe, STL. If you're on Clubhouse, you know this guy's on there. He's an absolute beast, and he is honestly one of the best people when it comes to virtually closing people. And I really want to pick his brain and learn how he's done so well virtual wholesaling, owner financing in such a short period of time. Thank you so much for coming on today, Chris.
Thanks again for having me. Hello, everybody.
All right. Sweet. So before we get into it, what is your story getting into real estate investing and wholesaling specifically?
Yeah, so my story, I came from, I would guess you could say what you would call a serial entrepreneur or serial try a little bit of everything, throw something at the wall and see if it sticks. So basically I came from the resale business, meaning like buy furniture and stuff like that. Different things. So I sell stuff auction block and stuff as well. And so when I got into this real estate space, it was a little bit different for me because I already had some sales background and sales skills and marketing skills, things like that. So shifting over into real estate, wholesaling, and everything else wasn't too difficult, in my opinion.
Okay. And when did you start wholesaling real estate specifically?
Yeah, so I closed my very first deal August of 2018. I went on to close 17 deals in my first year, bought 9 houses creatively using creative financing strategies without using my own credit, and many times without using my own cash. So I came into the game swinging and bucking and swinging.
Wow. That's awesome. Wow. I've only started watching you on YouTube, I guess 2019. So it probably makes sense. I mean, guys, if you're watching this, that's how I found Chris. He's on YouTube. He's absolutely a go-giver. He gives so much great free information that I think it's absolutely amazing. So Chris here, my question for you is, when you started, you got 17 deals here and you started doing more and more. I mean, was that it? Like, were you hooked on the wholesaling and real estate from there?
That I came across would not qualify for a traditional wholesale deal, so I had to learn some creative strategies. And so I ended up implementing some of those strategies into the wholesaling operation. So the wholesaling operation.
All right. Looks like Chris is cutting out a little here. So we'll see if he can get back on. What I can do is give some information on virtually closing deals. So let's see if he wants to hop on. So we're gonna wait for him to hop back on here, if he can. So when it comes to virtually like closing real estate wholesaling deals, there's a lot you got to get going. I think one of the most important things when it comes to virtually closing real estate wholesaling deals is confidence. Confidence is honestly one of the most important parts of it. And if you don't have confidence when you're doing virtual wholesaling or virtual creative financing or virtual wholesaling, you're really not going to do well. So in this video, I guess Chris has hopped off here. So, all right. So yeah, guys, welcome. We are live. Welcome. My name is Zach Ginn, and in today's video, we are going to be talking about closing virtual wholesaling deals, closing owner financing deals, all virtually. This is a really fun one. Guys, look behind me. We're in the new studio. We are on the St. Lucie River. This is absolutely amazing. This is just beautiful. So glad we can actually be on here. So what's going to happen is we are going to be joined live by Chris Monroe, and Chris is going to be talking about virtually wholesaling and virtually closing real estate wholesaling deals. So let's add him on here. Welcome back.
All right. How's our connection now? Is that better?
That's a lot better. All right.
All right. Yes. So where did I leave off? Where do we get cut?
Well, we got cut a little, but I know you're strapped for time. You're out in the field because, I mean, you're not like one of these big gurus. Like you're out here actually doing deals. That's the one thing I do
I'm a
appreciate about
guru
you
in
is
training. I'm a guru in training.
I love it. But that's why people should like subscribe to someone like you on YouTube or watch you on all your social media. Because when you talk about something, when you talk about closing a deal, you're actually out here doing it. Like you're not this one guy that closed a bunch of deals 4 or 5 years ago and then you're selling a course and like you're not in the trenches. And that's the one thing I do appreciate about you. So um, my question here, let's get in the meat and potatoes here. I mean, you're great at like you've done some lives just talking to sellers and it's been absolutely mind blowing. It's helped me when I started out for wholesaling. So I want to hear what is your pitch for virtually closing deals and virtually offering creative finance to a seller?
Yeah, everything that's based on my business when it comes to real estate, really even in life, comes down to asking the right questions, and those questions lead to conversations, and those conversations lead to closing. So you learn how to talk to people and speak to them in a way that they can digest. Like you said, talking about the creative strategies, and you said how do I do that? I don't go in and say I'm going to buy your house subject to. I'm going to buy your house. I'm going to wrap around. I'm going to buy your house. Some of these fancy terms people don't understand what you're talking about. So I try to speak to a person so they can actually receive what I'm talking
Okay. Wow. So, what are some tips when it comes to virtually closing a deal that you might have to do differently than if you're actually physically going on the appointments?
So the biggest thing when it comes to virtual is basically having somebody there, what we call boots on the ground. As long as you have boots on the ground, somebody there that can represent you as far as maybe changing out locks, maybe putting a lock box on the door, maybe taking pictures, doing video walkthroughs, or showing properties to others or showing it to somebody there. As long as you have somebody that's there to represent you physically like that, you're pretty much in there. Now, full disclosure, there is technology now that has even replaced that. By the time this video comes out and people watch the replay, you'll learn more about this thing called a Matterport, where you can just put it in there, some software or some hardware you put into a house, and it does a 360 view, and you don't even have to bring people to the house anymore unless they want to physically see it. So it actually speeds up the process a lot quicker than what we're used to.
Wow. And are you using those metaboards for your deals?
Matterport. I don't use it. I'm just aware that
Okay.
they're out here. I don't
Wow.
use it yet, but like everything else in this business, it goes fast. This is in now, then everybody go to ringless voicemail, and everybody go to text message class, and everybody go to this. Then they come on back to cold calling. All of it works. The question is, do you work?
That's true. 100% there. So, what's your preference? Do you like doing virtual wholesale deals or owner financing deals better?
I really love the creative deals where I can actually
Hmm.
buy the property. Wholesale is nice. It's a one check, and it's nice if you get a big one. But like I said, all of them won't qualify for wholesale deal. But these people still want to sell their property. They still want to sell, and it doesn't meet the numbers for your lowball offer. What are you going to do? Refer them to an agent? How about just buy their house creatively if they're open to that? Now, everybody isn't going to say yes to some type of creative terms. Many people are going to say no, but it only takes a handful to say yes. And once you get a few yeses, you'll say, "Oh man, I'm going to shift my whole business. It's a game changer."
Okay. So, in the past year, basically all the way up from May today, what is your favorite owner financing or creative deal that you've done?
Wow, that's a good question. Well, the one I have several that I've sold twice. Now I'm explaining how that
Cool.
works. So yeah, and I'm like, wow, how you get the same money on the same house? So I bought a house on a creative deal. It was a 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom house, I believe. It's in South St. Louis. I was a small non-refundable option I got on this property. So I bought the house on what we call a wrap around mortgage or a wrap. So they wrapped around the original loan that was already there. I paid nothing but closing costs for this property, so I came out of pocket for about $1,200. I was like, "What, $1,200? How many of them can you find? As many as you can." So I came out of pocket $1,200 to get this property to become the owner. Or my trust is the owner, but I don't want to make this too confusing. So we control and own the property for all intents and purposes for here. So I installed what we call a tenant buyer, somebody that goes and puts some type of down payment down, or what we call a non-refundable option fee. So they get in on what we call a lease option. They have a lease with an option to buy it. They're going to lease the property just like traditional rentals, anywhere you see in America or anywhere in the world for that matter. And then they have an option to activate to purchase the property.
Now to get that lease option, they have to put some type of fee. This one was a small one; it was like 5,000 down. But remember, I came out of pocket $1,200, and I got 5,000 down from this person to move into the property. So that means I got how much in the deal? Nothing. So forget buying a house. I was paid to take this house, but that's not the meat and potatoes. So this person lived there for about 6 months, right? Cash flowing the whole time. I think it was cash flowing like $300 a month. So he lived there for about 6 months. He said, "You know what, Chris? I got bad news. I got to move out. I just took a job in Denver. I got to get out of here." I said, "Oh man, you got to leave, really?" He says, "I know that 5,000. I won't get it back. I understand. I got to move." He left, but here's the catch. A few days later, somebody else came along and wanted the same house that I did nothing to, have no money in, and they dropped $10,000 down on the same house I have no money on that I've owned for the last year and a half. So that's just kind of an overview of some of how these deals work. You can do these deals pretty much in every state, all over the United States. The only place that's kind of tricky is Texas, but outside of that, you can do these creative type strategies everywhere, and it's really a game changer. This same house that I never did no work to, I never qualified for a loan from the bank. I never showed my W-2s, tax returns, blood samples, mother's maiden name, none of that stuff. They tell you got to do 3.5% down. None of that stuff. I didn't go through any of that. Acquired the property and got paid for it. I still own that property today. It's still cash flows. So it's the
Wow.
gift that keeps on giving. We call it the goose that's laying the golden eggs. They just keep popping out eggs, popping out eggs. I got 2 houses like that, by the way, that I've sold on a lease purchase twice. When somebody left, somebody else came in. Now, I didn't cause that. They did it. That's why it's called a lease option. They had an option to either stay in the property or they had an option to stay and get their own loan or whatever they want to do. Move out.
Wow, I'm glad you talked about that because I'm glad to talk to someone who is just as passionate about lease options as I am because I'm preaching the choir here, but no money, it's cash flowing, it's the best. Uh, how many years for on average on that deal like was the wrap? Was it like 3 years, 4 or 5 years?
Well, you want the real truth? The life of the loan, baby. We go for the life of the loan. I think that
Wow.
house has 26
Woo.
years or something on it. I got about 4 of them like that have 25 plus years on them. So we never getting out. That means that's my retirement. 25 years from now, I still have something cash flowing, paying me that I have no money in. How do you lose on a
Wow.
deal like
Jeez, and what's the monthly cash flow in there, like profit wise?
that was like $300. It's not a lot, but still, remember, I got 2 big checks. It's basically like a wholesale deal hybrid. I guess you could say it's a hybrid of a wholesale deal. I got a big check. I get a monthly cash flow each and every month while I wait. And then if they do decide to go get their own loan and cash me out, that would be what we call our third profit center. I get another big check because I sold it for $59.9 and the loan on it is like 40 grand. So that's another $25
Wow.
check on the back end if somebody ever decides to cash me out.
Wow, that's super impressive. I mean, how did you find that lease option deal?
They actually found me. So that deal, the wrap that I found, the way I bought it, they called me from what we call a car magnet. And I put those vehicle magnets and said, "Sell your house for full price." And they called and say, "How does that work?" We don't say we buy houses like everybody else. We say, "Sell your house full price." That begins what? That begins the conversation. I want to talk to people who own property and see if we can work a deal.
Wow. I mean, that's great. Wow. Was it where was the car magnet? On their car? On your car?
No, on one of my vehicles. So I have a fleet of
Wow.
vehicles. I have car rentals and stuff. That's another story. But this is
Wow.
on one of my vehicles. I actually bought 2 houses from those same magnets. So car magnets work, people, and you can get some at wokesigns.com. WOKE, wokesigns.com.
Wow. Yeah, I see you on Instagram talking about the car thing, but that's for a different podcast. We can get in there. But if I find someone who wants to sell and potentially it's good for a lease option, how could I virtually pitch them on a lease option? Because I mean, it took me a solid couple weeks of just learning lease options for me to really get a good grasp on me understanding it when I was starting out. How can I have a seller understand what they're agreeing to with a lease option?
Well, like I said, we want to keep it as simple and plain as possible. We don't want to go in talking about big words and big
Yeah.
phrases and a bunch of scary stuff. And to make it simple and plain. So, and I do want to be fully transparent here. I don't look to buy any lease option. I'm looking to buy the property. I want the deed. I don't want. I'll settle for one if they'll do it. What we call a sandwich lease option, where I lease it and I sublease to somebody else, and I'm the meat in the middle. That's the sandwich lease option. I'm not looking for those. I'm looking to actually buy the property meaning I have the deed, and my exit strategy is the lease option. But I have did some sandwich lease options as well. But my target on those when we do it is simple. Would you consider taking a monthly payment until we pay you off in full? They're either going to say yes, no, or what the heck is that? There's only three options they're going to have: yes, no, or how does that work? Hopefully they say, how does that work? Because now you can go into telling them how you're going to take full responsibility of all of the maintenance and repairs of the property. They won't have to deal with any tenants, toilets, termites, trouble, or any other T's, trash, any other T you can think of. All the T's are gone. We eliminated them, and we make it a seamless transaction so that they don't have to worry about that property anymore. So we basically want to target it to what they said. So like I said in the beginning, it's a line of questioning. We find out what they want. Very important. Find out what that homeowner wants so you can give them they want. Every different type of fish, like different type of food. What type of food does that fish want? We're going to feed it to them.
Wow. Wow. I mean, your wealth of knowledge. I think a lot of people are getting it. We're going to have a lot of great comments on this. Thanks, Leo. Thanks, Jose. Thanks, Brenda. I mean, I love lease options. So how are you finding your tenant buyers?
You know what? The tenant buyers is actually the easiest side. The biggest thing is finding out who has the biggest non-refundable fee. So one of my favorite ways is that site that starts with the Z and ends with the W. Zillow. You can find them on Zillow. Another way is to put what we call bandit signs or signs inside of neighborhoods to say no banks needed, seller financing, or move into a house, rent to own, no banks needed, challenge credit okay, bad credit okay. Certain verbiage like that. You don't want to put all that, but I'm just giving some keywords that you want to kind of attract these people. Let them know it don't matter what your credit is. It's all about, do you really have some type of non-refundable fee? That's what I'm looking for. And can you pay this monthly fee? Do you have some type of income? You have a zero credit score, you can qualify. Because we're giving them time. We're actually providing a service to the marketplace. You got to remember that 3/4 of the marketplace cannot qualify for a mortgage. A lot of people, especially since the pandemic, less people can qualify for a mortgage. So they're like, wow, how do I get into a property? Giving them a way to get into a property through the lease purchase program.
Wow. Okay. And is there any acquisition tips that you can give for the audience through owner financing creative deals that's helped
Most
you?
definitely ask good questions. Don't go in offering a bunch of stuff. Oh, I'm gonna give you this much down. No. We usually buy with nothing down, okay? Okay. And they don't say that, I'm moving on. If they say, oh no, I gotta get something down, then let's talk about the down payment. What's the lowest you would accept as a down payment? But don't go in offering big down payments. You wouldn't believe how many houses I bought, no money down, closing costs only, and it's all about the gift of gab and knowing exactly the things to say. And I go through that with the training to break down exactly the words to say and things like that. And the biggest thing really is handling the objection. Like some of the common ones they might say is what about the insurance? How are you going to handle that? Things like that. What if the house burns down? Or things like that. So like I say, we let them know right up front. We close all deals, and I mean all deals, through a real estate closing attorney, even if I'm in a title company state like I am here in St. Louis. Close them all through a real estate attorney. They're protected in the deal. Everything's in writing. There's no surprises. There's no gotchas. When they know that you know what you're talking about, your credibility can help you get more houses.
Wow. Okay. And do you deal with any subject twos at all in Missouri?
Yes, sir. My first creative deal was a subject to deal. Bought that house in South St. Louis County here. Found that house through we pulled a list. We pulled a list of a non-owner occupied property, and we ended up ringless voicemail them or send them a voicemail without a phone ring. So I sent the voicemail, said, hey, this is Chris. We just want to know if you're interested in selling your house. Something to that effect. She texted back and said, I would love to sell, but I don't think you can help me because I owe too much. I said, oh, well, we'll see about that. So I got on the phone with her, made an appointment, went and met her that night, put her under contract, bought that house. So she was behind about 3 months, about $2,500 in arrears. That's what she owed to catch her loan up to bring it current. About another $1,000 out of pocket closing costs. So I acquired a property worth about $160,000 for $3,500 out of pocket. I mean, how many of them can you find? This is crazy out here. Just find them and you know how to do them. Structure the deal. So I bought that house subject to $3,500 out of pocket. About 8 days later, somebody came along and gave me my biggest non-refundable yet, $21,419 down on that house, which means I'm back to net zero out of pocket. Remember, I came out of pocket $3,500. I gave $21,419. That's what they had at closing. You subtract my $3,500. The rest of that goes in the hip pocket National Bank. The property now, the loan on that property is about $675 a month or something like that. They pay $1,000 a month, so it's cash flowing about $425 or something a month, and it's been cash flowing since December of 2018. My first creative deal, and I wish I could find more like that one. It's still one of the best.
Wow. Okay. And is there any tips you can give for anyone trying to virtually do some acquisitions with subject twos?
Yeah, so if you're doing virtual, like I say, it's more so about asking the right questions of these people, seeing what they want, find out what they want, and positioning yourself as the person that's giving them what they want. If they don't ask for it, don't give it. For example, a lot of people put out in this, even in the wholesaling community, we can close in 7 days. If anybody asks to close in 7 days, why are you offering 7 days? If they don't want to close in 7 days, I'm not offering it. I'm going to give you what you want, meaning I'm going to ask a question. I mean, if we can work everything out, how soon would you like to close? Zip it, and they'll tell you, well, we can close by the end of June. I'm happy. Boom, you put it out for the end of June. Why are you giving them 7 days? But you can close sooner, you know that. But why would you put yourself on a time constraint when you don't need to? So it's all about positioning yourself, asking the right questions, and facilitating and making the marketplace happy with you. Because the more problems you solve, the better that bank account will become.
Beautiful. I couldn't say it better myself. So the last part here is virtually wholesaling. So what is your largest virtual wholesaling deal you've done year to date?
34,000.
Wow. Wow. And can you explain that deal? Like, how do you find it? What was the acquisitions like? How do you find the buyer?
Yeah, it was a whole totally virtual deal up in Virginia. So
Wow.
it was let's see here. So that the guy was working with somebody that I knew, and they said they wanted to sell. We ended up putting it under contract for 50,000, sold it for 84,000, and that was a $34,000 spread on a deal. I can't even get a deal like that in St. Louis. It seemed like I had to go out of town. So every deal is what it is. You know what I mean? If you can get it low enough, and you can position yourself and get enough buyers to find these properties that you have under contract, you can get these big spreads. But you can negotiate good, and that's one of the tips I'm going to give. I know you like tips. I'm going to give you a tip. Everybody think, oh, the cash buyers say they'll give this, and that's just what they say. You can negotiate with them too. I negotiate with the seller. I negotiate with the buyer. You're a professional negotiator, professional facilitator. You can understand how to talk to these people, figure out what they want, give them what they want, but you don't have to bend over backwards because the cash buyer said this. They're not gone. So you can't just give them everything they want. You got to negotiate with them as well. They'll try to lowball you. That's the only thing too. So negotiate with all parties. Everything is up for negotiation.
Wow. Okay. And what is your closing pitch more or less for the virtual wholesaling? Is this something where you go hard to get the DocuSign done like that day? Is this something where you're calling and you're warming it up and then you go for the close? Do you get pictures
So yeah,
first? How is this all working?
Yeah, so my system is set up a little different. So I have some virtual assistants over in the Philippines. So they're over there on the phone and getting leads and things like that, whether it's from for sale by owners we target. We target a lot of non-owner occupied properties. We target expired listings because these people already raise their hand and say, yeah, I do want to sell. So, sell it to me. If it's expired, why didn't it sell? Maybe the price was too high. It's only two reasons a property don't sell, in my opinion. One, the price is too high, or two, the marketing sucks. Many times it's the marketing is bad. When I say the marketing sucks, that means pictures aren't good, the description isn't good, video. You want to show the property. Enough eyeballs haven't seen that property. Whether you're doing creative deals or wholesale deals, you want to have enough eyeballs on the property to make it all work out right. So that's the biggest thing when it comes to that. Hope that answers your question.
It does. It truly does. I mean, you're just a gem of knowledge. I truly appreciate it. Some other questions I do have for you is you do have VAs and they're doing a lot of this marketing for you. Where are they finding the for sale by owners? Are they going from Zillow?
Some of them come from Zillow. We're also subscribed to a service that we get FISBOs in our email every day, 7 days a week, even when you sleep. So systems, I'm a systems guy. I came right into this business. So I'm gonna go back a little bit to when I first started. I came in, I spent about a little over $1,000 before I ever got my first deal, meaning from bandit signs, setting up phone systems. I even hired a VA before I even had a first deal because I knew I wasn't gonna do all that cold calling and stuff. So I basically set up a system quickly. I don't suggest everybody do that, but I did it because I did have a background in business and I understand that I didn't want to work a job. I wanted to set up a good system leads into a pipeline, and we can keep closing day after day.
Wow. Okay. And with systems, as you said, you do know systems well. So I do want to ask you this: is one of the most important parts of the systems is the people working in it. So you have an army of VAs, pulling lists and actually marketing. What are some of your tips for finding good VAs from the Philippines versus a bad VA?
The biggest thing is figuring out which business plan you're going to do. Are you going to train them yourself, or are you going to go hire them from a company? A lot of people go hire them from companies, which is fine, but I'm more of a hands-on person. So I actually created our training videos and manuals internally for the company. So probably about 95 videos to show you how to do everything
Wow.
from the rooter to the tutor in regards to running our real estate operation. So if somebody comes in today, they can go straight through the videos and they'll know exactly how to do X, Y, and Z. So it's
Wow.
important to train, inspire, motivate, and help these people out because they're working for you. These are not just people in the Philippines. They actually have families. They're actually working for you. They're expecting you to do the right thing and have a vision and be a visionary and be a leader. Lead them to the promised land. So don't lead them to the swamp land.
Wow. Okay. You mentioned there that you were trying to motivate. So is this something where you're doing like weekly Zooms with all of your employees? Like, how do you motivate them and how do you keep them on track your KPIs? How is that part of your systems working?
Yeah, so definitely want to meet them every week. We do a Zoom call or a video call, something similar to what we're doing here. Some type of training. We do training weekly. We do just talk, see what's going on. What challenges have you been going through? What are some obstacles you've been running into that you couldn't overcome? What are some of the objections and things that you've seen? And we go back and play some of their calls. So it's very important to have all calls recorded for quality and training purposes, for real, because you want to listen to how they're talking to people. You don't want them on the phone just saying any old thing. They're representing you. They're representing your company. So I always go back, and try to listen to what they're doing on the phone. And if they have a bad habit of doing certain things, get rid of that. For example, one of mine had a habit of, oh yeah, do you have a loan on your house? Yeah. So how much is it? That's 2 questions. You need to get that down to 1 question about how much do you still owe one versus asking, do you got a loan? How much is it? You're giving them time to think about it until you know or give you an objection. You can just hit them about how much do you still owe one confidently. And if you sound confident, like you know what you're talking about, he will give it to you just like that.
Wow. Okay. And last couple of questions here is obviously you're working today, you're out in the field. What is the day like for you? And where's your time being spent best for your wholesaling and your creative finance and really in your real estate operation?
Most of the time it's more so the training aspect. Like I said, I focus on a lot of training and a lot of systems. So I really don't work that much, realistically, 5 to 10 hours a week if that counts. But I do have multiple businesses. So I do have an actual physical store here in St. Louis. We have over 10,000 items for sale, furniture, collectibles, antique stuff like that. I do have the Turo car sharing. I share multiple cars on that platform. So they're rented out all the time. They're coming in and going out, things like that. If that's considered work, that's that. Drive through a car wash, you know what I mean? That's not too much work. And then, just little odds and ends, things like that. So it's not necessarily that. So like I said, I would probably say 5 to 10 hours.
Wow. Okay. And last question here is you are on the Bags Riches podcast. So I started real estate wholesaling at the age of 17 with $300. So if you were back, let's say you're
17, good night. They're getting younger and younger.
I know. So if you were 18 years old and you had $300, what would you do to become the next Chris Monroe?
I would go to wokesigns.com and get some bandit signs. You can get 100 signs for $99 free shipping. I would get those. Just, make it say, you can customize and make it say whatever you want. I will put those out because that's exactly what I did. Put out about 600 bandit signs in my first year myself. So I made myself known in the marketplace by getting deals, letting people know that you exist. That's mainly your job as a wholesaler, letting people know you exist. Because there's always going to be death, disease, problems, divorce, all the other things that go on in people's lives every day. People sell property every day. Why can't they sell to you? Why can't they work with you? You gotta let them know you're here, let them know you exist. And that's what I tell people to swing. Just won't miss.
Wow. That's great. I mean, band signs, that's how I got my first wholesaling deal. So cannot say it more enough. It's absolutely amazing. So Chris, I really appreciate you coming on. Before we hop off here, what are some of the parting thoughts you have for the audience?
The parting thoughts is but can you get on the phone and have a conversation with the person? It's a big deal. You know, you can do it, but if you sound confident, you know the words to say, and more importantly, the words not to say, you can really do some damage out there. Anybody can do this.
Perfect. Chris, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I know you're a busy man, so I'll let you go. Chris, thank you so much. Guys, we are still going to be going after this, so we'll say bye to Chris. Thank you so much. If you guys want to go follow him, he is Chris Monroe STL on YouTube. That's how I found him out. Great knowledge, great stuff. Always a go-giver. Thank you so much, Chris.
That's right. Chris Monroe STL on all social media. That's Snapchat, that's Twitter, that's Instagram, that's Facebook, that's YouTube, that's TikTok, that's Clubhouse. Come on over at Chris Monroe STL and check out my incredible training platform at wokerealestate.com. WOKE, wokerealestate.com. Thanks again for having me on, all right?
Thanks. Have a good one. All right. That was awesome. So Chris was great there. So guys, right now, what you're going to do is ask your questions for virtual wholesaling, virtual creative finance, any of that stuff. I would love to answer it. I really want to do. So Chris was kind of busy a little bit today. So I was going to do the rest of the time here to really get a Q&A from you guys and see how I can help with your virtual wholesaling operations, the way you pitch it. I think Chris had a lot of great stuff. Let's see some of the comments we got here. Hey, what's up? Let's go. Sell your house full price. I'm going to borrow that from Chris. It's great. I do think it starts a conversation, which is ultimately what you want. So I think it's pretty good. I think overall it's pretty good. Let's see here where we're at. All right, that's a little better. So, all right, gems. Yeah, Jose, that's what it's all about. Sweet, sweet, sweet. The day's been heavy. Tips make it better. Awesome. But yeah, guys, comment below any questions you got about closing virtual wholesaling deals, any of that stuff, because really when it comes to virtually like closing deals, it's a little bit different. Obviously, you probably need pictures, boots on the grounds. If you have the system, it's great. Chris was talking about really how he had VAs do a lot of the work for him. And I truly think that's a huge tip I can give is having a VA or having a system or delegation is he's working 5 to 10 hours a week. That is absolutely amazing. I mean, that's a game changer. If you can, guys, find delegation with your wholesaling stuff, it's insane. The owner financing stuff, guys, you've heard me. I've preached about it forever. I'm telling you, lease options, creative financing, learn how to close those deals. Obviously, you should learn wholesaling real estate first. But once you learn actually how to start closing virtual wholesaling deals, learn the tips that Chris was saying there. Like, talk about if they're open to payments. The reason why I love owner financing deals and stuff like that is because you don't have to offer exclusively a wholesale. So if the wholesale like price, if they want way too much money for it, the cool part is you can offer creative financing. It's absolutely, it's amazing. Like, I cannot say it so much that just owner financing, subject twos, they're great. Wholesaling is our bread and butter. That's how we make all of our money. But the real generational wealth is through the creative financing stuff. So Jose says, the knowledge on these videos is insane. Awesome. I appreciate it. Thanks, Pam. Ola from Dallas. Awesome. Where do you get the signs? So he had wokesigns.com, I think was his link. I'll get back with him on it. But the way I found my bandit signs is you can go there, get them online. Sometimes it's cheaper if you actually go to your local like print shop or your local sign shop. That's where I found a lot of really good, like really cheap signs. If you can get under $2 with the stakes, it's pretty good. Signs are really good too for finding cash buyers. I think Chris was talking about that too. And that was one tip or thing I could really mention that was pretty good was he was actually out there like using the little white signs, say 3-2 for sale, all cash. It's a great way to do it. Now, some gurus will tell you to do it without having a deal. I recommend you have a deal if you're going to do it, but that's my personal opinion on there. But the local sign shop's really good. You can get them online if you live in a place where the local sign shop isn't the cheapest. They get the best shipping rates, so that's usually why it's cheapest. And just really know if your market's really good for bandit signs. I'm not going to go out here and tell you go buy 5,000 bandit signs and then find out your market sucks. You need to learn if your market's good or not with bandit signs. And you won't know unless you do some testing. So maybe like 100 signs will be really good. But to get into bandit signs, you got to test it out, because when I started out, bandit signs were amazing. That's why I got it. It changed my life. That one bandit sign I put out, maybe $20,000, and changed the trajectory of my life forever. So I love bandit signs. That was good. Thank you so much. How would you go about doing a wrap around mortgages? So you got to take the mortgage, and then you basically find a tenant buyer in there, and you make a spread off of it. So depending on what state you're in, if you're in Texas, it's hard to do, but overall, if you can do it in Florida, you can do it in Florida, basically everywhere out. Who's doing Missouri? I would go through a real estate attorney, get the contracts and everything done, but use a real estate attorney. You want to make sure everything is as legally protected as possible. With creative finance, I just want to make sure you guys are as safe as possible with it. So like Chris says, he uses an attorney. I use an attorney for all my deals. And if you're going to make 300, like let's say you're going to make $5,000 in the beginning, and you're going to make $300 for the next 30 years, like 30 years, $300. And at the end, you're going to make some money too. Like, wow. Like, it's worth paying an attorney a couple grand to get that deal done, right? And make sure you're legally protected. Thanks for the question. Great live, Zach. Quick question. If money was an issue, what's the best lead source and fastest and most effective way to get a deal in Los Angeles market? No, not Google Ads. The best lead source I would say is I would pay people to go door knocking. That's what I would do. Probably the best, as if money was an issue, Los Angeles is an extremely tough market. I recommend you do the Inland Empire, but if you had to do Los Angeles, it's tough. But I would do door knocking because it's so competitive there. That's probably the only edge you can get. That's what I would recommend there. Door knocking, driving for dollars, and then cold calling that. But even in Los Angeles, it's tough. I would do virtual wholesaling. I'm telling you, get a VA. If money wasn't an option, get a virtual assistant, have them start cold calling vacant high equity leads in the Southeast of the United States with prices under $150,000. If you do that, 9 times out of 10, if you spend enough money or you have enough marketing or you watch enough of these videos, you will get a virtual wholesaling deal. You don't even have to get any money to get a deal like that. But that would be my tip if you live in Los Angeles. I'm really sorry, but Los Angeles is really tough. San Francisco's tough, but I know guys that are actually doing San Francisco, so I can't knock it. Oakland's pretty good out there too. But like New York City and Los Angeles are like the two cities that are so difficult. Miami's up there, but you can still go to Palm Beach and still get some deals. But really, I mean, that's where I'd be at. Like, you need to get a nice ROI. Like, you could go spend 20 grand to get a virtual wholesaling deal, or get a physical wholesaling deal for 20 grand. But I'm here for the right ROI. What is your return on investment? If I'm putting $100 into marketing and I get a $15,000 deal, it's a pretty good ROI. That is 100% worth it. But if I'm going to spend 20 grand to get 20 grand out, it's not a good ROI. That's not what it's all about. Love the love the content on the channel. I've been running 2 ads on Facebook at $20 per ad per week for Macomb County, Michigan, resulting in 0 leads. Do I need more patience, more budget, or do my ads just suck? So $20 per ad per week. Yeah, at minimum, dude, for Facebook ads. I'm not the Facebook ads expert, but I've had guys like Chris Chico. I've talked to all these people. When it comes to that, I personally would say it needs to be at least $5 to $10 a day. So that is $35 to $70 per week before you get good results on there. Your ad copy is really important too. But what I can tell you is you got to make sure that you're at least $5 to $10 a day. That helps the algorithm pretty much a lot from there. Great virtual tips. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. Fluff Lucky says, how many times do you cold call a list, and what do you do with people after you call who did not answer? The cool part about it is we do it by cycles, really. So we'll have a list and we'll just continually hit that list like for a full year. And if they get off the list or the equity's not there anymore, then we'll switch it. We'll not do it. Personally, what I would say here is if no one didn't answer, well, I'm going to call them next month. So usually I hit them every month or every quarter, a cold calling list. Depends how big of a market you're in, but you should do pretty well. So I would say you get a list and start cold calling at month one. If you don't have a lot of skip trace phone numbers, keep calling that list every month and just keep adding them in, add code violations, add probates, add in all the government lists you can, fire damage property lists, like all this stuff. I teach it. I'm telling you, it's one of the best ones out there. So that's what I would recommend. Leslie says, I just don't understand two things. How do you find the equity the home has in the ARV and offer price? Great question, Leslie. So let's break this down. So how do I find equity on a home? How do I find the ARV? And how do I find the offer price? This is great. So the equity, remember, equity is just like a simple formula. It's really not that complicated. So equity, for example, let's say I own a property that is worth $200,000. Now, that is what it's worth right now. And I owe $100,000 on a mortgage or loan on the property. That means I'll have $100,000 in equity. I minus off the $200,000 value minus the $100,000 mortgage or what the debt is owned on it. If I have a lien on it, things like that is equal to the equity. So if I sold the house today, how much money would I be walking away with? So that's probably what you would find when you do equity. Remember, if you're paying commissions, fees, closing costs, it's a little more different, but we're doing rough numbers here. But so that's what equity is. The ARV is the after repair value. So let's say it's worth $200,000 today and our offer price. So let's bring it back a little. So let's say the property right now is worth $200,000. So how do we get to that number? For example, let's say the property's after repair value is $300,000 and we offer them $150,000. Or, we can do a lot of general math here, but let's break it down. Let's do a clean slate for you, Leslie, here. So $100,000 is what are really the value of it. So let's say it needs about 50,000 repairs. So the ARV is about 150,000. 3 bedroom, 2 bathrooms in this county are selling with this square footage, with this year built, with everything, is selling for about $150,000. We figure out that the property needs about $50,000 worth of work. We got to figure out what the repair cost is going to be on that. So let's say we know the flooring needs this amount of work, the roof's 15 grand. We add up all the stuff the property needs and it ends up being $50,000. So $150,000 ARV. Remember, we're finding ARV by looking at comparable properties in the area. What is a comparable property? What are other 3 bedroom, 2 bathrooms with the same square footage, the same more or less style are selling for? So if this one sold a couple months ago for this price and this one sold for this price, and we can put averages on the square footage of the property. We really want to do the acreage on the lot, make sure it's in the same subdivision. I can't get into an hour rant on this, but really that's how we find the after repair value, the ARV. Now we did 150,000 as ARV. It needs $50,000 in repairs. Figure out what the repair cost is. 150 minus 100,000 is $50,000. Now, $150,000 minus that 50,000 is $100,000. So now we have $100,000. That's really what the property is worth. So equity-wise, that's the value of the house. Now, obviously, we're not going to offer them the value of the house. A cash buyer is also going to want an extra discount on top of that. They're not here to buy properties at market value, or they would just be buying properties on the multiple listing service or the MLS. So take it from the top here at $100,000, what the owner is the actual, that's what the owner's value is. So our cash buyer is probably going to pay around 10% or 15% off the market value. That's their percentage they're okay with. So $100,000 multiplied by 15% minus. So 85% of 100 is 85,000. So we figure out from there, $85,000 is what our actual cash buyer is willing to pay it for. Now we got to give an offer. And here's the fun part. We get to figure out how much we want to make on that wholesaling real estate deal. Do I want to go and make $5,000 on this? Do I want to make $20,000 on it? It's truly up to you how much money you're going to make on it. So for example, I'll offer them $60,000. I know if they accept that offer, I make $25,000 on there. It's amazing. How do you go wrong with that? So If my offer is 60, I know cash buyer is willing to pay 25 with the numbers I did there. We know I make 25. Let's say they come back to me and say, Zach, 70,000 is the most, is the least I'm going to take. Okay, let's do 70. Write a contract for 70. Find a cash buyer, 15,000, just made 15K. So you'll know exactly how much money you're making right before you sign it. So it's actually really cool. So that's how I do it. Hopefully that answered your question. That's how I come up with my offers and how I know the repair costs. That's how I know my offer and the ARV and the equity. Appreciate it, Leslie. I hope you have a good one. Thank you. I'm in Brevard County, which is a small county in Florida. Do you think it's possible to six-figure business there? Yeah, in most small counties, you can. So yeah, I think it can. Is it possible to virtually wholesale if someone is not a U.S. citizen, doesn't even live in the United States? Yes, you actually can. Here's a quick shocker for you right here. There's people from the Barbados. There's people from Trinidad and Tobago that have my wholesaling houses for Real Group that are just getting $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 deals. Pretty impressive, right? They're not U.S. citizens. They work with title companies. They get the money to them. It is possible, and you can do it. What is the best way to find boots on the ground using Facebook group? My favorite would be like a jobs. So let's say we did the St. Lucie County, like for jobs or like for hire. Those people are really good. Craigslist is really good. Don't go to wholesaling Facebook groups because those people are mostly other wholesalers and might try to steal your deal. Do people that don't understand real estate. So there's people that go take pictures with the phones that won't try to steal your deal. That's what I would do. What do you do with people who batch skip traced and couldn't find their numbers? Do you personally try to find their number? Yeah, we'll try another skip tracing site, or we'll do truepeoplesearch.com. Truepeoplesearch.com. Leslie says, perfect. Thank you so much. That's it, guys. I really appreciate you guys hopping on here. This was really fun. I always have a fun time with it. So remember, guys, before we hop off, smash that like button and subscribe. I really appreciate it. Your support means everything. Thank you guys.